Hi guys, we're back with a part 2 for the yearbooks. I just went through them and I found some really weird stuff. I also had to go. I also had to go to the bathroom, and then I went to the bathroom, and then I looked through the yearbooks, and I didn't find anything that cringely. So I'm gonna read to you guys some really cringy stuff. So we're gonna start off with this book. So it is at the Millside Elementary 2016 and 2017. I'm actually gonna sit on my chair because I kind of like this better. Bring it around. So I'm not sitting on my bed because I'm sitting on a chair. But I'm gonna show you guys, if you guys don't believe me. See, now I just did something. You probably didn't believe me. I'll take 3 times. You guys don't believe me? And if you guys are wondering why my sheets are off, they fell off, so, you know, I'll do it later, but yes. Let's get started to some cringy stuff. Not really cringy, but okay. So the first page is, I'm not going to show you guys my school, and the reason why is because it has some information. I'll just give you guys a little look. Like, boop. Alright, fine, whatever. I'll let you guys look. So this is not even my school right now, so you guys can't get any information because that's not even my school. So yeah. Then it doesn't say what city we live in on this page, so that's nice. I'm just checking each page. So the first page is just all the staff. I'm going to read them to you. So Mrs. Hanners was our principal, and then Miss Augusta, Mrs. Amberg, Mrs. Mahala, who was our music teacher, Mrs. Martin, Mrs. Martz, who was our art teacher, Mrs. Axtell, Mr. Barnless, who was a helper, Mrs. Barnett, who was a lunch lady, Mrs. Bloom, who was a lunch lady, Mrs. Broccoli, who was a lunch lady, Miss O'Gorman, who was a teacher. Well, I'm not going to say like the teachers and everything. Mrs. I don't know. Mrs. Reedens, who was a janitor. Mrs. Robinson, Mrs. Ramar, Mrs. Chris, Mr. Chris, who was a janitor as well. Mrs. I don't know, who was a lunch lady, Mrs. Dusenberry, Mrs. I don't know, who was a lunch lady, Mrs. Gafa, Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Shigusta, I think, Mrs. Simcoe, Mrs. Tetler, Mr. Thaler was our gym teacher, Mrs. Grissom, Mrs. Grove, Mrs. Humes, Mrs. I don't know, Mrs. Liberto, who was our STEM teacher, Mrs. Tadino, Mrs. West, Mrs. West was a lunch lady, Mrs. Wimmer was a, I don't even know, and then Mrs. Wood. So just some funny pictures. I'm gonna show you guys some. I've drew in this book before. Like, I cross out people I don't like. It's kind of weird. I don't know why I did that. But nothing's crossed out. I'm just circling people I know. So this is preschool. This is preschool inside our school. So these are some preschool pictures. If you guys want to take a minute and look through the preschool pictures. You can pause the video and just look through them. Mrs. Axtell was I'm supposed to be in this picture, I think. But Mrs. Axtell, so this is kindergarten. Mrs. Axtell's pictures. If you guys want to look at Mrs. Axtell's pictures. So you get a good picture of them. Okay. And then Mrs. Tetler was another teacher. You guys, I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's fine. The next one is Mrs. Wimmer. So I'm gonna give you guys a minute to look at some of Mrs. Wimmer's pictures. I'm gonna sure I'm not crossing out anybody. Mrs. Wimmer's pictures. Let's get it. Look. Mrs. Wood. Just some more pictures you guys can get a good look at. I can zoom up on both pages if you guys want me to. Another one. Mrs. Dusenberry, who was a teacher. Mrs. Grove, which I think I'm in this picture. Yeah, I'm right here. This is me. This is me. This is my friend Ari. And wasn't I gonna name everyone that was in my class? I was gonna, wasn't I? So the first person is Tyler Alderman. The second one is Jackson Arpan. If I say any of people's names, then shout out to them. If I say someone's name, because they were in my class. Mrs. Tyler Alderman, Jackson Arpan, Bo, I don't know his last name, but if you guys want to, I don't know his last name, but that's him. So, yeah, Alyssa Champion, Trevor Couch, Joseph Eastham, Reagan Elliott, Alexa Gardner, JC Gack, Tia Gore, Emma Josephazi, Thomas Landrum, Lauren Lovelace, Melody Mahala, Lainey Marciniak, Salone, I don't know her last name, and then Violet. Those two are twins, and they were like my best friends. So Salone, this is Salone, and this is Violet. The next one is Mark Pizer. He was like the craziest kid ever. Lila Pizzora, Caden Richardson. I don't know his name all the way, so that's what he looks like. Me, obviously. You want to get a good look at me? I circled myself, but that's me. My friend Ariana Sparger. Carmela Sterling. Cameron, I don't know his last name. I can't pronounce his last name, so that's what he looks like. So if you guys, yeah. And then Austin, I don't know his last name. So whenever I don't say your last name, I show you guys. That's Austin. So if I said you guys your name, shout out to them because they're amazing. And then obviously my teacher, Mrs. Grove. That's my teacher, Miss Grove. So shout out to you as well. I don't even know, but yeah, whatever. And then Mrs. Here, I showed you guys. Mrs. Mertz. She wasn't our art teacher, was she? She was a teacher at the time. She was not an art teacher. She's an art teacher now, but she was a teacher. So, if you guys want to see. On Brooklyn. Brooklyn, I know you watch these videos. So Brooklyn, if you want to see yourself, you're right there. And you're also right there. So Miss Mertz, Miss O'Gorman, she is. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So double check 3 times. Mrs. Tadino. So this is Miss Tadino. Shout out to everybody in Miss Tadino's class because I know a lot of people in Miss Tadino's class. So shout out to, actually no, not shout out to the whole class. I'm going to shout out people in this video, in this one. Philip Falquist, I can give a shout out to him. I can give a shout out to Jenna Dobbs. Jenna Dobbs, shout out to you. and Callie Young. Shout out to you as well, Callie Young. Shout out to you as well. So those are my shots for that thing. This is another picture. So this is this picture. My favorite one. I was actually in this picture right here. That's me right there. And I think it's the only picture I'm in, but this one. And then, ow, hit my foot. If you are in any of these pictures, shout out to you. I'm gonna show a picture if I'm in it first. And if I'm not in any of these pictures, I'll show you guys right away. I just want to make sure. Oh, wait. Nope. So all these, if you guys know somebody in one of these pictures, you can take a screenshot, send it to them, and yeah. This is a good close to it if you guys need to get like one page at a time. This page, perfect. So give you guys lots of looks of it. And then the last page, it says name, the age. My name is obviously Michaela. My age was 7. My grade was 1st grade. My teacher was Miss Grove. All about me. I like school because I like doing math. That's not the same as now. I like social studies and writing and reading. I like all those. Subject is Miss Martin. My favorite subject was Miss Martin. My favorite song was Miss Grove. She was my teacher. My favorite book is Charlotte's Web. That's kind of the same now. What do I like? What do I do on? So I still haven't answered like a lot of these questions, guys, but like, yeah, it's kind of funny. So that's 1 yearbook done, and that's not me farting. Soon this. Trying to run my foot against the chair. Then I'm gonna do another yearbook, guys. I'm gonna do 2017 to 2018. It's gonna be a lot bigger because it's in our big school. That's just a message from Mrs. Lestage. Oh, I didn't show you guys our principal yet. This is our principal this year, or for our school right now. Her name's Mrs. Lestage. Bring it around. So I'm gonna read to all the staff. I'm not gonna say like their name. I'm not gonna say like what they do or everything. So, Mrs. Adamson, Mrs. Bassican, Mrs. Baker, Mrs. Nutter, Mrs. Paran, Mrs. Reek, Mrs. Sadler, Mrs. Bowser, Mr. Corbett, Mrs. Cornway, Mrs. Crows, Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Schott, Mrs. Schumann, Mrs. Simcoe, Mrs. DeBoyer, Mrs. Degowski, Mrs. DeSmither, Mrs. Elliott, Miss Simpson, Mrs. Soltaire, Mrs. Stepanico, I don't know how to pronounce that, Mr. Shiguski, Mrs. Forrest, Mrs. Fuller, Mrs. Jernand, Mrs. I, Mrs. Tavares, Mrs. Tricomo, Mrs. Van Single, Mrs. Vistison, Mrs. Coos, Mrs. Lovage, Mrs. Luca, Mrs. Lutch, Mrs. Waite, Mrs. Wilson, not pictured, Miss Lestage and Mrs. Gibson. Mrs. Bowser's class. If you guys want to get a good photo of Miss Bowser's class. That's Miss Bowser's class. So that's kind of fun. Mrs. Reek's class. I'm doing these quick because there's already been 14 minutes, and I'm not gonna come out with a part 3 because just no. Mrs. Schumann's class. Mrs. Wilson's class. Did I just show you when I was in it? I just did. And let me see if I'm in the bottom pictures. Nope, I'm not in any of the bottom pictures, but this is me. Did I put I put a yellow dot next to everybody pretty much. No, not everybody. Well, this is me. Where's me? This is me. Michaela Schaefer. And then, yeah. That's pretty much it. Yep. And then Mrs. Cooz's class. That's really good. Ooh, look at that. I don't think. So, I'm Mrs. Lucas' class. Guys, I really don't want to do this anymore. I'm doing it for you, bros. Miss Simpson. Just gonna go super fast. Little Levage. You guys just gotta be fast on screenshotting. Unless you guys don't want to screenshot. You guys don't have to, but. This is Miss Shots class. Double take Mrs. Silter. So if anybody's watching my video and you see yourself, then good for you. Mrs. Single. Miss Baker. Alright, after this book, I'm going to come back with a part 3. Because 3 is my lucky number, and 3 is this year. Mrs. Crows. Mrs. Degowski. Guys, don't worry, I'm in 5th grade. Whew, that's a lot to go. Yeah. Lots of teachers left. Mrs. Dismither. Mrs. Fuller. I'll take 3 times. Miss Forrest. And Mrs. Gernand. Mrs. Gernand. Oh, those are photographs. Mrs. Gibson. Simcoe. And Skrewski, and that's the last one. Skrewski. Hope you guys got to see everything. If not, then you can resume, but I can't be showing you guys photos all day. So I have to do a little bit of my color thinking. And then these are just all like people. More people. Who else is there? People. So I'm exposing photos. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I really want to be done. Don't even believe me, you know that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it's pretty simple. You just gotta look at the numbers on them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I brought up the time just because there's a lot of people in each picture. Hey! I just showed somebody without even. This is the lighthouse team. I was on the lighthouse team. Don't worry, guys. I was right here with the. I was next to Jenna Dobbs and Lila, and I was wearing an owl shirt with some donut pants. So it's me. Bring it around. 6th grade band. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's drama, by the way. I don't think it was in that. No, it was definitely in that. Robotics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's robotics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay.
10 or 15 minutes related. So if you want to bring some bathing suit, do some swimming. If it's nights, we might go to the bay. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
But get your towel and whatever else you want.
Okay. 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's tiring. And then photographs. So Morgan Worley signed, Brianna Lusk, Katie Kessler, Ralph, Casey Smith, Joshua, Katie Kessler, Angie, Jax Laney, Amelia, Ben Anthony. I don't know who this is. Mark, Ella Osterbeck, TJ, Jacob, Trevor, Grayson, Leland. I already said Casey, I think. Ethan, can't read people's handwriting. Jarrett, Jenna, Ella. And yeah, if I didn't say your name and you signed it, then sorry. But I must have not read yet. And the last yearbook I'm gonna save for another video because I just want to be I want to leave the fun moments for a different day. See, it's pretty good. So I'll be back with the part 3 if I ever do it. Come with the part 3 when I have some more of the other photos in that book. So bye. I'm gonna go to the island. I have to pack a bag for the island, and then I'll make some lunch and then we can eat. So bye.